How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. New UK bill strengthens authorities' ability to seize illicit crypto. The legislators expect that by expanding the arsenal of tools available to local law enforcement agencies, the UK will see faster and more substantial seizures of crypto connected to criminal activities. One such measure is the expansion of law enforcement's powers to seize digital assets without requiring prior conviction. So that's a very slippery slope in my opinion, because they can say, hey, we're seizing your assets because we suspect you of doing something. As of now, cryptocurrency assets linked to illegal activities can be subject to freezing but cannot be confiscated in criminal cases unless the individual has been arrested and convicted, as it should be. Bitcoin Center urges swift action against Binance Tether for links to terrorist groups. In a letter, Senator Cynthia Lummis and Rep. French Hill asked on Thursday that the DOJ reach a charging decision on Binance that reflects their level of culpability and expeditiously conclude their investigation into the ongoing illicit activities involving Tether. They claim that they are helping fund Hamas. The letter comes after Wall Street Journal reported that Hamas used Binance accounts and the Tether stablecoin to finance its attack on Israel earlier this month. Blockchain data firm Elliptic has since said that the WSJ's report is inaccurate. Over on the Dixie, I did slightly move this pattern, but that's based on the 4 hour. So we are starting to curl away here on the 4 hour. If we maintain that curl, we could respect this pattern. However, if we pump away, this pattern would be shot, and then we would want to look for other patterns. Over on the daily, our RSI is overall trending out. It is starting to round away. Our stochastic does want to continue forward. The money flow is continuing out. That VWAP is starting to round away, and the momentum is starting to come back down because the VWAP is starting to weaken. The VWAP is strong in the bullish territory though, so if it maintains the strength, we could break out of this pattern and continue forward. However, if it rolls away here, it's very likely we will sustain this pattern and keep trending within it for now. Over on our total, we haven't really drawn any new patterns. We do have that cup and handle possibility where this would be a cup. We could come back down, make some sort of handle, but it is also the golden pocket, so we could get manipulation just shot up. As stochastic is going flat, RSI is pretty flat. It really doesn't have much more room to run. That momentum is pretty maxed out too. It's starting to round away as our VWAP is starting to fall toward that bearish territory. If that VWAP continues down, that momentum's going to come back down and our money flow will start to round away as well, which could set us up for some bearish action and break this golden pocket. If we zoom out, we do not have a volume profile. I believe I can't get one on the total for whatever goofy reason. But Bitcoin dominance, we do have one. We're still well above that value area high for the one we have. You could draw one for this channel we're in here if you wanted. We are starting to round away from that resistance area. We don't have really much buying pressure above this 55% zone, so we are starting to see a sell-off. If we continue down, we could make a head and shoulders, where this would be a shoulder, a head, and then maybe another shoulder, and then we break down from there, or we could just come back down and break. Our RSI is starting to head back down as our stochastic is starting to weaken. The momentum has a double red dot on it, as our money flow and VWAP are starting to round out. That VWAP is getting lower highs with continual lows, so if it sets up lower lows, we would start some bearish action that could bring us lower. Over on Bitcoin futures, we are still within this little gapped area we have. That stochastic is rounding away. That momentum is starting to get a double red dot, and that's starting to round away as our VWAP is falling into the bearish territory. Our VWAP is favoring the bullish territory overall, which is helping us sustain this move up. But if that starts to get exhausted and we start to favor the bearish territory, it's very likely we will fill these 3 gaps to the bottom. 1, 2, 3. And then we could fill that lower gap around 20K. Over on Bitcoin itself, we are still within this possibility of a bull flag that could try to push us forward. We are getting a red candle here. If we get a strong red candle after this, that pushes us below this pattern and starts to round this top, that could set up some bearish action where we could pull away sooner rather than later. So we wouldn't see that push to around that 38K. Our stochastic is starting to round away. RSI is starting to round away. Our momentum has a double red dot. That VWAP is breaking into that neutral, and the money flow is starting to taper. If that VWAP starts to favor the bearish territory, we will see continual bearish action, which will eat up all of these gains. Over on the 4-hour, you can see that flag a little better here. Our momentum's crashing out. RSI is pushing out, so that momentum has bearish divergence. Stochastic has bearish divergence. That VWAP starting to favor the bearish territory here on the 4-hour. So I would watch for that to carry to the daily. If that carries to the daily, then we're going to overall start to sell off. That money flow is maintaining bullish pressure though on the 4-hour, but with that VWAP favoring the bearish territory, if we continue to get weak moves toward that neutral and start rejecting, or we just get weak peaks, it's very likely we could see a round to the bottom here. Over on the 2-hour, we are getting a manipulation X that did get invalidated, so we are trying to push up away from that. Our RSI is trying to head up. Real quick, if you haven't already, smash that thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and join us in that Discord. That's the only way to get one of these statues that's printing. If you notice, today we're trying to print the gold one. We've had a little bit of issues with it, but we are doing multiple tests, and we will have it going soon. Our money flow is trying to continue forward. That VWAP is in the bullish territory, and that momentum is heading forward with a green dot. So we are seeing some pretty decent action here that could try to pull us up. If that momentum does get a green dot and that VWAP continues up with some strength, we could see continual bullish action. However, if that VWAP just rounds away here and it doesn't get much of continual bullish momentum and it starts favoring that bearish territory, then we will see that pull back. Over on the 1-hour, our stochastic is running up, RSI is pushing up, that money flow is just above that neutral, clinging onto the bullish territory, and our VWAP does show signs that it wants to roll away. If our VWAP rolls away here, it is very likely our momentum could follow and our money flow would break into the bearish territory as well. If that happens, we could see a push down and reject this possibility for continual price action to move forward. Again, if you don't watch every night, you should, because every night they kind of link together. We're kind of going off what we said last night, so if you feel a little lost, I suggest you might want to watch last night's video to get a little caught up. Because some nights we go more in depth than others, so you want to watch every night so you have the full idea and full picture. Over on graph for the daily, we are testing this point of control. We did try to break through it, but we are sustaining above it. If we get a green candle after this, we could see continued price action up. However, if we see more red candles and we break below this red EMA, then we could have a push to the downside. If we bounce off that red EMA, that would be within that pattern we mentioned last night. Our stochastic is starting to round away. We do have a bearish cross. Our RSI is starting to taper off. That momentum is starting to push away. Our VWAP is starting to lose some strength here, and the money flow is struggling. The money flow is in the bullish territory, but if that VWAP starts to sell off, that money flow will follow. Over on the 4-hour, if we zoom way out, it's kind of hard to see the handle, but this would be our cup. Then you zoom back in, this would be a dip. If we sustain and push forward on the 4-hour, that could be our handle that breaks us forward and up to that resistance area. So just to zoom out for you to see, our momentum's overall pushing out, our RSI is losing strength, our momentum has bearish divergence, stochastic is pushing down with bearish divergence, but our money flow is maintaining bullish strength. That VWAP is trying to cross over to that neutral. It wants to gain some bullish action, but it looks like it could struggle here. If it doesn't break through this zone and we get a lower high, we would set up the possibility for a rejection of this area. Over on the 2-hour, RSI is overall trending out. Our stochastic and momentum are getting lower highs, which is setting up bearish divergence. Our money flow is overall pushing out. Our stochastic does want to make a bounce up, and our VWAP is trying to break through to the bullish side, trying to give our momentum a green dot, but it's struggling. So if it rolls over and comes back into this bearish territory, we could start to favor the bearish territory and see price action start to weaken. Over on the 1-hour, RSI is trying to make a bounce and continue forward here. Our stochastic is pushing forward very strong, so that is good for our RSI. That can help push our RSI forward. Our money flow is overall tapering out, and our VWAP is struggling to sustain higher highs above this 10-11 zone. So if it rounds out and breaks that neutral, we could see it start to favor the bearish territory more, and that could lead to the higher time frames and drag us under. That momentum does want to push forward, but it looks like we could start to struggle if that VWAP rounds away here. Over on Anchor for the daily, we are trying to bounce off this EMA. We did kind of break under it, so if we can continue with strong green candles, we may see price action push forward. But if we get more red candles and break below, I want to say this 297, then we could see a bearish push down. If we make a bounce off this 297, we could have a little bit of a handle that could play out to push us forward yet. Our momentum does have a double red dot that does want to push us down, as our momentum is rolling away with our VWAP falling into that bearish territory. The stochastic does have a bearish cross, and the RSI is starting to round away, so both our RSI and stochastic are starting to weaken. Now money flow is in the bullish territory, but it's struggling to get highs above this 13 zone. If we can't sustain above that zone, then it's likely that price action could start to struggle and we could start to drop out. However, as long as it stays green and above that neutral, we do still have bullish momentum. I would just watch for the VWAP start to favor the bearish side. Over on the 4-hour, our RSI is overall pushing out, our momentum is pushing away. That money flow is trying to push forward. Our VWAP is making lower lows. If it starts to make lower highs, then we could set up a bearish trend that could push us out. This could be our handle, as we did technically push down, and then we would want to push up to make that handle and see continual price action above this 2275. If we get stopped out by that 2275, then we could see continued bearish action from there, or if we start to pull back even sooner. Over on the 2-hour, our RSI is trying to bounce up, stochastic trying to move up, our money flow wants to push forward, that VWAP is pushing up above that neutral. We are getting weak highs though, so I would watch. It's struggling to get above this 8.6. If our VWAP keeps getting lower lows and struggles to make higher highs, it's very likely we could set up a bearish trend that could bring us out. Over on the 1-hour, we are struggling to get above some of our EMAs. We are getting stopped out, so I would watch for a pull back here. Our stochastic is pushing forward, RSI is trying to push forward, that money flow is overall pushing out, and that VWAP is pushing forward, but it's starting to flatten. If it starts to flatten here, then that momentum will push out and the money flow will start to pull under. If that money flow starts to go bearish, it's very likely we will get some pull back. We have lost 2% today, so that could be the start of a further move down. Over on XRP, we did test our support again. We almost tried to test our resistance, but we were not successful getting that high. Our stochastic is starting to push down and roll away. RSI is starting to push away. That momentum could start to pull away here as our VWAP wants to break to that bearish side. Our money flow is struggling to sustain above this negative 7.5. If it doesn't break above this zone, it will stay in the bearish territory, which means we would maintain our bearish trend and we could see a pull back. Over on the 4-hour, you see we are trying to make a bounce off that support zone. We are trying to bounce off our Fibonacci zone as well. RSI is trying to head up. Momentum's overall pushing out. Stochastic's overall pushing out. So we do have bearish divergence on both our stochastic and our momentum, which could end up bringing us down to the bearish side. Our VWAP is favoring the bearish side as we have a big dip here, a little bit more of a significant dip on the bearish side here than we do have bullish dips here, and then a bigger bearish dip here. So if we get a lower high, we could set up a bearish trend that could end up breaking this zone and setting us down for those lower price targets that we were mentioning. A lot of people think those lower price targets are crazy, but hey, guess we still have some more grief to set into the market. Our RSI is starting to head out. Stochastic is starting to head away. Our money flow wants to push forward. Our money flow is maintaining bullish momentum. If the money flow maintains this bullish momentum, that will help sustain this zone and that could help push us forward. Our VWAP does want to break to the bullish side, but we are kind of trying to favor the bearish territory as our bullish strength did struggle back here. If we struggle right here and we get a very weak high and just roll over, kind of like we did right here, it's very likely we could reject this area, push down, and these EMAs can start to become resistance and start to round away. Over on the 1 hour, we are above a higher EMA, so that is good, but we are coming back down. So if we come back down and break through it, we could see continual downside. RSI is overall heading out, so I would keep an eye on that. Our stochastic does want to push forward. Our VWAP is maintaining bullish momentum. We could start to favor the bullish side here. So if that does happen, then we could push our medium to higher time frames back up. Our money flow is in the bullish territory. It's getting near that neutral. It wants to break, so I would keep a close eye on it. If it breaks to the bearish side, we could get flush out here. Again, if you haven't already, smash that like, hit the subscribe, and join us on that Discord. Last for algo for the night, we are bouncing off of this support zone, so that is the top of our flag. It could still be a freak break up, but we could also make some sort of inverted head and shoulder where this would be a shoulder, head. We could come back down, make a shoulder, and push up. That would be a bullish scenario for us, but I would just watch out for the bearish scenario as well. Our stochastic does want to round away here. RSI wants to lose some strength. That VWAP wants to roll away. Momentum wants to roll away. Our money flow is in the bullish territory, so we do have some positive signs, but that money flow is getting a bit of a whimper and starting to taper out, so I would just keep an eye on it. Just because we're over the point of control doesn't mean we're in the clear. Over on the 4 hour, we are getting bearish divergence on stochastic and momentum. Our RSI is rolling away. Our money flow is in the bullish territory, so that is helping prop us up. We could help see this cup and handle kind of play. This would be our cup. This would be our dip. Kind of very messy handle. If we lose this zone around this 10.25, 10 and a quarter, then we could see continual pushes down. If we're not able to rebound here and break above that zone, it's very likely we will get a rejection, see a pullback into this flag, and see the flag play out. Over on the 2 hour, RSI is overall trending out, momentum's overall pushing away, that money flow is starting to push down, and that stochastic is overall in a bearish trend. That stochastic and momentum have bearish divergence. RSI is starting to push through that neutral. It is kind of weak here, so if it does start to weaken, that would help pull us back under. Money flow is rejecting back down after making some highs. If it breaks below the 16.5 zone, where it's kind of trying to bounce from, then we could see continual price action to the downside. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic is running up. RSI wants to push forward. Our money flow is sustaining bullish momentum, and our VWAP is starting to round away. If that VWAP starts to favor the bearish territory and that money flow breaks through the neutral, then we could see a push to the downside. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.